Hi, Andrew from SACS, and welcome to video number 5 in our 11 video sequence on the relationship between cognitive ability and life outcomes. And you'll see later on in this sequence that we'll be talking about how to apply this concept of cognitive ability or personal intelligence to work performance. In this one, we'll be talking about the relationship between personality, values, and cognitive ability. Now, SACS has been involved in a number of research projects associated with the measurement of cognitive ability and the measurement of values and the measurement of personality and seeing how they interact. And in fact, in terms of the relationship between cognitive ability and personality, SACS was involved in a research team which won an international meta-analysis award for the quality of the research on that topic. So subsequently, we undertook a piece of research which related cognitive ability to personality and values. The original paper was just cognitive ability and personality. And let's have a look at the results. So you'll see that cognitive ability is segmented into 3 areas. General intelligence, which is kind of like mental horsepower, how smart the person is overall. Crystallized intelligence, which is to do with things like verbal reasoning, acquired knowledge. And then fluid intelligence, which is often called abstract reasoning, is really the capacity to learn and the capacity to problem solve. So the differentiation of cognitive ability into general intelligence, crystallized intelligence, and fluid intelligence is a differentiation which is often used in the research world. Now, the relationships between cognitive ability, personality, and personal values are defined by the lines that you can see I'm highlighting right now. The thick lines denote strong relationships, the thin dotted lines denote moderate relationships. And you can see that there's a moderate relationship between general intelligence and crystallized intelligence and personality. And so the characteristics of this is that people who are high in cognitive ability also tend to be high in inquisitiveness, unconventionality, which is the tendency to be comfortable with things that you're not familiar with, and aesthetic appreciation, which is art and the appreciation of the way things look. So people who are smarter tend to be more likely to care about the way things look and may well be art lovers. The negative relationships are things like organisation, which is interesting because it suggests that smarter people may be a little less organised. They also may well be less fearful, and they may well be less gentle. And what that says to us is that they may be minded to be a little bit more assertive or perhaps even harsh on other people. You'll see that crystallized intelligence and general intelligence have a stronger relationship with personal values. Now, personal values don't affect people's behaviours as much as personality does, but they still have a marked and measurable impact on people's behaviours. So, people who are smart tend to be higher in self-direction. That's what that positive relationship indicates. They tend to be more benevolent, which means kinder and the sorts of people who can be relied on. And they also tend to be higher in universalism. So to understand about values, values are in fact goals. They're often described as trans-situational goals. Universalism is the tendency to want to make the world a better place. The trans-situational goal of universalism is to be committed to things like social justice or environmental sustainability and to want to advocate those things, whether you are at home or at work or down your sporting club or wherever. They're trans-situational. So this is learned in the course of life, and the relationship between cognitive ability and values seems to suggest that people who have the cognitive ability characteristic tend to take a broader and more kind of broad-minded perspective on what life should be. By the way, that it's also demonstrated in personality, but more strongly in values. On the other hand, the negative relationships with cognitive ability are things like security. People who are smarter don't care so much about being safe. Conformity. Smarter people don't care so much about fitting in with the rules of either organisations or social groups. And tradition. When people are smart, they don't care so much about tradition, which is really a tendency to rely on and to obey the dictates of society or family or religion. So that's a little bit about the relationship between cognitive ability and personality and values. Is there a relationship between mental illness and cognitive ability? That's the subject of video number 6. Click on the link near this video to join us.